Hi everyone. In this mind map, we're just going to summarize what we've learned so far about immunity in the third line response. So to start off with, we know that pathogens are disease-causing organisms that can be bacterium, viruses, or fungi. Now, what alerts our immune system to their presence are antigens. These are chemical markers on the surface of a cell, and they tend to have a specific shape. There can be non-self antigens, and these are the ones that are present on pathogens that trigger that immune response. However, our cells also have antigens which we regard as self-antigens. Normally, under usual circumstances, our immune system is not triggered by these antigens because our immune system has been educated, if you will, about what belongs to us and what doesn't. So in this diagram here, I am just drawing a cell, so for example, a red blood cell with antigens on it which your body deems friendly so it doesn't attack. If your body does recognize antigens that are foreign, it will mount an immune response and it will start to produce these special Y-shaped proteins called antibodies. So just to recap from what we've already learned, antibodies, the free antibodies that travel in our blood, are produced by B cells, which make plasma cells, and it's those plasma cells that actually secrete the specific antibodies. And how they work is they bind to antigens and they inactivate it. So you should be aware there are 4 ways of inactivating antigens and their pathogens. How antibodies work is by binding at their specific receptor site to an antigen. So similar in a way to the enzyme lock and key model, you can see that I've drawn the Y-shaped antibody protein here, and it has these specific receptor sites that were complementary to the non-self antigen that I drew in the picture at the top. Because they are not complementary to self-antigens, this will hopefully, in most cases anyway, stop autoimmunity. So here's our little baddie antigen again. So this is a non-self one. And what I'm drawing here is the antibodies combining with it to form an antigen-antibody complex. That antigen-antibody complex is specific. So these antibodies have been made with receptor sites that match that antigen exactly, and it will inactivate that antigen and its pathogen. Okay, so there's 2 types of immune responses, so we're just going to touch briefly on both of them. The first one is the antibody-mediated immunity, also known as the humoral response. Now, I would like you to know both those terminologies because both of them could come up in exam questions or test questions. So the humoral or antibody-mediated response is the type of immunity that produces free antibodies, and these antibodies will circulate around the body and attack pathogens. We know that the type of lymphocyte that does this are known as B cells. So B cells are the type of immune cell in your body that produces antibodies. And just as a recap, let's remember that B cells are a type of leukocyte, a white blood cell, and they come under a subclass called lymphocytes. So B cells or B lymphocytes, they are actually made in the bone marrow and they mature here as well. So they don't go anywhere else. They are made and mature in the bone marrow. How they work is that they prevent pathogens from entering cells. So that's a crucial difference compared to the second type of immunity. They don't let the antigens and the pathogen enter the cell. What they do is they stick to the outside by combining to form that antigen-antibody complex, which essentially tags antibodies, and that earmarks them to be destroyed by macrophages which carry out phagocytosis. B lymphocytes tend to circulate in lymphoid tissue and they come from the bloodstream, remembering that's where they are made, in the bone marrow. Okay, to finish off, we're going to look at the second type of lymphocyte response, and that is the cell-mediated response. Now, this is different to the B lymphocyte response because it's slightly more aggressive. It actually destroys the pathogen, and it has to do that because in this case, the pathogen has gotten inside your cells. So it's got no choice at this point. It really has to destroy that cell and take the pathogen with it. Another difference is that antibodies are attached to the cells. They're not free floating. And these T lymphocytes are produced in the bone marrow, same as the B lymphocytes. They're both produced in the same place. However, T lymphocytes get their name because they are matured in the thymus. Now, these lymphocytes also circulate the lymphatic tissue and they are derived from the blood.